Hello, everybody. Welcome to part 5 of the Dynamics 365 Tech Talk Commerce Extension Series. Today's topic will be a deep dive on the hardware station extension with the Commerce SDK. My name is Brad, and I'll be your moderator today. We are broadcasting this session through Teams live events, and the audio can be heard through your device speakers. This session is being recorded on behalf of the Microsoft Corporation. When you join this event, your name, email address, and/or phone number may be viewable by other session participants in the attendee list. By joining, you're agreeing to this experience. The recording will be available on the Tech Talks Community Dynamics page within 5 business days. If you have questions for the presenters or need support, please use the Q&A panel located on the right side of your screen. Our presenters will be responding to your questions during the event and also during the Q&A segment near the end. Thank you for your patience during these announcements. Presenting for us today from Microsoft, we have Mugunthan Mani, Senior Program Manager, Lucas Majeste, Software Engineer, and finally, Luke Graham, Senior Software Engineer. At this time, I'll hand it over to you, Mugunthan.
Thanks, Brad. Hey, hi everyone. So in today's session, we're gonna talk about how you can extend the commerce hardware station, and also we'll talk about how you can migrate your extension from the retail SDK to the new commerce SDK. For example, if you've done some hardware station customization in the retail SDK, Lucas will show a live demo on how you can convert those extension from the old extensibility model to the new commerce SDK. Okay. With that, let's get started. Yeah. Okay. So the agenda for today's session is first we'll do a quick overview of the hardware station. What is hardware station and what are the types of hardware station? Next, we'll talk about the extensibility pattern or scenarios, what are the different scenarios you can customize hardware station, and after that we'll jump directly into the migrate the extensions. Okay, so in this migrate session we're going to also show how you can create the hardware station extension as well as the migrate from the old SDK. So it will cover both. Even if you are new to hardware station, this migrate topic session will help you. Yeah, and then the next will cover what are the different, how you can do the packaging. Say, for example, I'm done with my customization, how I'm going to package and deploy. Okay. Then before ending, we'll quickly cover the localization. So there are some commerce hardware station features which are shipped as localizations. There may be questions like, hey, how I should consume this feature in the new SDK. So we'll quickly cover that also. Yeah. Okay. So now let's jump dive into the session. So I'll give a quick overview of what is hardware station, and what are the types of hardware station and how it's consumed by the different client system. Okay, we'll not do a deep dive into the architecture. The main reason is from the extensibility perspective, you don't have to much worry about the architecture, because from the extension you're going to just consume some of our packages and write your extension. Okay. That's why even I kind of remove the hardware station slide from the deck here, the architecture slide. Okay, so I'll give a quick overview. Okay, so the hardware station is a component, depends on the deployment topology. It's a component within, it can be a component within the point of sale, or it can be installed as a separate component. Okay, so what this mainly does, it's from your point of sale device, if you want to connect to any of the hardware peripherals, say for example payment device or printer or cash drawer or the line display, so this component will allow you to connect from the point of sale. It will call the hardware station component. From the hardware station layer, it will connect to the correct hardware device. Similarly, there can be some barcode scanner or whatever, right? It does polling and everything. So all those kind of the hardware connectivity and interaction is managed by this hardware station layer. Okay, and as I said, depends on the topology, or the components you are using. This hardware station component will sit inside your point of sale, or it can be installed separately. Okay. So now let's talk about like what are the types and how it's gonna be deployed, right? There is primarily two options for you to set up and deploy the hardware station. First one is called the dedicated. What that it means is like the entire hardware station component is deployed within the point of sale. Say for example, you are installing the modern point of sale application, and the entire hardware station is deployed within that component. So you don't have to do any additional installation or configuration still required in the back office, but you don't have to do any additional installation. So the entire hardware station is already deployed part of your modern point of sale. Okay. So you don't have to install separately. This option is called the dedicated. Then with the what are the configuration in the back office to connect you would have given your printer name or the cache drawer and other devices, right? So from the hardware station, from the HQ configuration, then the modern point of sale will know like, hey, I need to now use the based on my configuration, I need to use the dedicated component, and then using that dedicated component within the point of sale, it will connect to the right device. Okay, so if you see the my right side here, okay, there is the hardware modern point of sale on-prem installer, which has the hardware station runtime embedded within it. So you don't have to do anything additional. You just install the hardware station, and the modern point of sale knows use this hardware station runtime within the point of sale, and then it will connect to the right device. Okay, this is one type. Then the second type is called the shared one. This is mainly used if you're using like any the cloud point of sale, the browser, which doesn't have there is no native layer of hardware station within that application. Okay, in this case, because the browser cannot directly interact with the hardware station layer or like communicate with the Windows hardware station devices. In this case, you have to install a separate hardware station. Basically, this is like an installer. You take it and then you install in any server from which your cloud point of sale can connect to it. So you install this in a separate machine or within your point of sale device machine. Okay. And then from the cloud application, you can, from the cloud point of sale, you can connect to this shared hardware station installer. Okay. And then you can do the communication with the peripheral. So basically from cloud point of sale, you'll call the shared hardware station, then the shared hardware station will connect to the device. Okay. Even modern POS, the other thing is like either modern POS can use the dedicated or modern POS also can connect to the shared hardware station. There may be some scenarios where you want to share the device between multiple point of sale devices. Say, for example, you have one printer which you want to connect, use between multiple devices, or you have like one payment terminal where you want to share between multiple point of sale devices. In that case, also you can use the shared hardware station. Okay, so two primary types. One is the dedicated, okay, and the other one is the shared. Dedicated is primarily used by the modern point of sale. Shared is used by both the cloud point of sale, which is hosted in the CSU or like on the on-prem, or it can also be used on the modern point of sale. So based on your topology, you can decide. Okay, so dedicated can be used only by the modern point of sale. If it's a cloud, the CPOS, the browser-based point of sale, then you must use the shared hardware station. Okay, and again, shared hardware station can also be used by the modern point of sale. Okay, with that brief introduction, let's get into the next topic here. Okay. Now I'll quickly cover like what are the different extension scenarios in which you can extend the hardware station. Okay, there is three main scenarios. One is like the new device integration. Say for any scenario where you want to create a new device and integrate in the sense like where you want to integrate with a new device from the point of sale. Say for example, I want to integrate my point of sale with a coin dispenser device. Coin dispenser device is nothing like as soon as your transaction is done, if there is some balance in coins, or then you can integrate with that device so that it will automatically dispense the coins out. Okay, so for any new device integration, you can follow this pattern. Okay, or if you want to integrate with some other like a check scanner device or like a different any hardware station device, okay, then you can use this approach where we have like a specific pattern how you can from point of sale will integrate with a new device. Okay, so Lucas will show this in the demo. Then the second scenario is where the typical where you want to integrate with a payment terminal device for all your credit card payment scenario. Okay. Then you can extend the point of sale as well as the hardware station. In many cases, you don't need to extend hardware station, only you need to implement the payment device, that specific interface we have. So you can extend that. That's the second scenario, extending the hardware station for the payment device. Then the third one is for like overriding the existing functionality. Say, for example, there are a lot of existing hardware station implementation in the point of sale for printer, cash drawer, light display, right? Say for any particular reason, you say like, yeah, I want to customize this printer functionality. Say, for example, out of the box in Windows printer, we print with a particular barcode pattern type, right? So like, for example, barcode 139 or the barcode you say like, hey, I want to customize this to support additional type or like change the logic within how it prints. Then you can override our existing request and write your custom logic. Okay. So those are the three primary scenarios. Just to quickly summarize, one, you can integrate with any new device. The second, you can implement the payment connector and then the device. Basically, the connector is for where if there's no payment device, but you just want to do authorize or like refund by embedding iframe. In those cases, you can use the connector implementation. Also, the payment device is where you are like a physical payment device for all your credit card processing. Then third is overriding all our existing business logic. We'll show a demo for all of these scenarios. Okay. Then the last one is before jumping into the demo and the migration part, the last topic is like the extension packaging. Okay. So then you may have a question like, hey, I have done with all my extension. I created like a new device integration with my coin dispenser. Now I want again package and deploy. Okay. If you remember the first slide, we showed the deployment options. Again, there is two ways to package this. One is the dedicated, where you package all your hardware station within the modern point of sale itself. If you remember, I showed like in the dedicated, the hardware station runtime is like within the modern point of sale. There is no separate installer, right? So exactly when you do a hardware station extension, okay, then you can either package this as dedicated or shared. Again, the customization you write is same for both dedicated and shared. How you package and deploy it's what's going to change. Okay. So you can either do dedicated in the sense, in this case, the hardware station extension will be packaged within the modern point of sale extension. So you will create like a modern POS extension project, and then the hardware station will be included part of it, and then you generate a separate installer. Okay. Then the second type of deployment is the shared, where you create a separate shared installer, and it can be installed as an add-in to the existing shared hardware station installer, which can be again like consumed by the cloud point of sale or the modern point of sale, depends on your topology. Okay. The one big difference is like in the older retail SDK, everything was like bundled together as one installer. So for example, the modern point of sale, you will take out of the box modern point of sale app and then put all your hardware station extension and the point of sale extension and generate one combined installer, right? But with the now new commerce SDK and the sealed installer framework, extensions are created as separate add-ins or like a separate installers. So where you can independently service and update the core component, as well as you can independently service your extension. In the sense, out of the box product is installed separately. Okay, so you will get out of the box installer, you will install it, and then you deploy it. Okay, and if there is any hot fix, you will get the updated version of the installer for the out of the box component, and then you run it. Okay? So there is no integration or like the merging of packages between the out of the box plus the extension. Then your extension will be like a separate installer where you generate installer only for your extension code, and then you run it. If there is like a next version of the extension or you want to upgrade it, you generate a new installer for your extension and then you independently run it. Okay. So both think like more like the add-in, where in the browser you will go and install the add-in, right? And then if you want to update, you will update the add-in. Similarly, if you want to update the browser, you go to the browser updates and do it, right? Exactly like similar model, you will do it for the hardware station extension installer as well as for the out of the box. Yeah. Okay. So the next topic we'll do a deep dive on like what are the three different extension scenarios we talked about, and then how will we migrate from the old SDK to the new commerce SDK. Yeah. Back to you, Lucas.
So thank you, Mugunthan. I will continue now with the presentation and let's get on with some hands-on part of it. So we'll talk first about migrating extensions, but before that, we need to talk about the packages that we are going to consume. So let's start off by that. So these are all of the packages related to hardware station that developers can consume in the SDK. The two main ones, I put it in bold. So the first one is the main package that will be consumed in any hardware station extension project. And this first one, Microsoft.dynamics.commerce.sdk.hardware and peripherals, includes all the ones that are not in bold. So it packages all of those into a single package just to simplify dependency management. And the second one will be used specifically by the hardware station installer that is going to be used for the sealed installation of extensions in the shared hardware station scenario. All of these other packages include a specific portion of the hardware station framework. So, for example, the third one includes the peripheral requests and so on and so forth. But I think for the majority of the developers, the two main ones that you'll be looking at always are the first one and the second one, and we'll show a little bit more about these in the demos themselves. And now talking about our demos, we have 3 demos, as Mugamben said. The first one will be a lengthy one, and it will give you an idea of what a migration from the old SDK to the new SDK looks like. In order to do that, we are going to use one sample that was already existent in the old SDK, both as a deprecated format and as an up-to-date format in the old SDK. We are going to show what you need to do both to migrate the up-to-date format and the deprecated format into the new SDK. The second demo will be about overriding an existing hardware station request. And the third demo will be about providing a sample payment device. So let's start with the first one. The first one is the coin dispenser sample, as I said previously. So this ends up implementing a new device handler that represents a coin dispenser peripheral. As I said, it's present in the old SDK, both as deprecated and up-to-date. And as part of this demo, I will also show some of the extension packaging differences between the dedicated and the shared hardware station. So without further ado, let's go to my environment. So here I have a local copy of our GitHub repository, dynamics365.install. And I will go down to my POS sample repository because I'll be presenting all of these demos entirely on the dedicated hardware station. I'll also show how shared hardware station works, but the majority of the demo will be showing dedicated, which is using an extension package in MPOS. So let's go further and open this project using Visual Studio 2017 as administrator. So I already have it here in my recent project. It's right over here. So the repository, that comes already, the sample that exists in the repository doesn't include any hardware station samples, but it's quite easy to add them and to generate an extension package out of it for MPOS. So you'll notice here that I have created an additional project called hardwarestation.coindispenser_sample. I'll go forward and inspect that. And you can see it's very simple. We are consuming the customization package.props, which are used in the other extension projects as well. We give it a name, target framework net standard. And as I said previously, the only package that is really referenced here is this one, which we will include all of the other packages that I showed earlier, and they can be referenced within the code. And this sample includes this project includes all of the code that was present in the old SDK for the up-to-date format of how we are writing hardware station extensions. And provided you were using the up-to-date format, which is the inclusion of the interface I controller and a more sealed way of referencing our packages without any additional external dependencies, there is no work whatsoever. The integration here is seamless. You really only need to add this CS proj with this additional reference here, as I showed before, with this package, and then all of those that we were referencing before will be packed by that package, and you can reference them here. Let me show you a little bit about this project, what does it do, and then I'll show you the other example, which is the deprecated version, and how we can migrate from that to this one. So let's start with the most simple class that we have in this project, which is the custom ping controller. So this is a custom controller that has a custom action. This custom action and this device, this is representing a device, can be called through POS, point of sale, by providing both the name of the device, which is in this case is given as custom ping using this custom attribute route prefix, and the name of this action, which is custom ping. So it's very simple. It just returns as a string saying that the payload of the original request was successfully received. Now let's go to the coin dispenser controller, which is a bit more complex, but the idea is the same. We also create a device with a unique name, in this case, coin dispenser. And we also have an action here called dispense change. And this dispense change action does three things. It sends a request to open the coin dispenser. It sends a request to dispense change using the coin dispenser. And for this, I will pass in the amount. This amount is originally gotten from the original request sent by the point of sale application, that I can set in POS the amount of coins that I want to dispense. And then finally, we will close the coin dispenser. So those are the three requests that are going to be made in succession from one another. And all of those are custom requests. So if we navigate to each one of those, you can see that they live in here. And they all inherit from this open device request base, which comes from the SDK, but they are custom requests. And I can do the same for the dispense change coin, which in this case inherits from the base request, and the same from the close coin device request. And they are all living in this folder here as custom requests. And the final, besides the interface here, which I don't think it's really necessary to show, the final relevant file that I want to show is the coin dispenser itself, which is what will provide the handlers for those requests. So in this case here, we are implementing a name request handler and an iDisposable. That's common behavior in the old SDK as well. That wasn't really changed. We have our supported request types, and here we have those three requests again. So this handler handles those three types of requests. And here on the execution part, given a request, we branch on the execution of each of those requests to an internal method in this handler. So if this receives an open request, then it calls an open method. A dispense request calls a dispense method. Close request, close method, and so forth. Now, since this is done and there's really nothing to be done here. Oh, one thing that I forgot to mention, I simplified specially this file from the old SDK to keep it simple. So you may notice that my open, dispense, change, and close methods are very simple. They are really only dealing with a Boolean here and a simple check to dispense coins. And this was done just to reduce scope and keep this demo short for the purpose of this presentation. And now I'm going to show you the deprecated version. So I'm going to load this project, and the reference here is the same. as it is in the up-to-date version in the old SDK. But with the deprecated version that was previously supported in the old SDK, after having this newer up-to-date version available in the old SDK for a while, we decided to deprecate this for good. So these classes that were previously used are not available anymore in the new SDK packages. And in order to show the differences between this deprecated version and the up-to-date version, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Git to really differentiate file by file. So I'm going to go to the hardware station sample. I'm going to copy all of those files here from the up-to-date one, and I'm gonna paste them in the deprecated one. And now let's use Git just to see the difference. So as you can see, even though I copied all of the files, the only differences are really the controllers themselves, and I'll show you exactly which are those. So this is the deprecated one, and this is the up-to-date one. So in the old SDK, we previously were using in a way to give the device name this export name attribute. And this was coming from this specific library, system composition. Whereas today we are using this route prefix that comes from this library instead, which is given by the SDK itself. In a similar fashion, this HTTP post was coming from the system.web.http library, which in its turn comes from the AspNet.web API package. And now, even though the name is the same, it's also HTTP post for this particular action. This one is coming from the same package here, this attribute. And this was done mostly to simplify the dependency management here, because as you can see, now we really only need this package. We don't need any other dependency whatsoever to compile this. Whereas here we would need to take a dependency in a library, both of the system.web.http, which is an additional package, and in system composition. The other major change that you can see here is that we are not using a base class anymore for these controllers. Instead, we are only using the iController interface. We are only making sure that this implements an iController interface. And the reason for that is not really apparent in this example, but it will be in the next example. So let's move away from here, and I'll go to the coin dispenser controller to show you. So you can see here that it's pretty much the same format that we were showing before, but in this case, we extend from this base class. And the reason why this was done, you can see here that we have a private variable inside this, a protected variable inside this class that can be used by any of the inherited classes. And this is what was this commerce runtime dependency, what was being used in order to execute any request responses. So we removed entirely the inheritance model from here to go for really a dependency injection approach. And you can see here that instead of having this private property, we are relying instead on an optional second argument with the context of your endpoint. And through this context, you can then call the execute method that will then be able to execute any of the requests that you have here. The final change, as you probably noticed as well, is that we just changed all of the samples to really use tasks, just to keep just as a quality of life improvement to better handle all of the internal asynchronous calls here. And we decided to remove the non-asynchronous execute method for good from the old SDK, as with everything else. So now the only available method is the execute async, which returns a task. And this is a much more simpler and reliable way of surfacing exceptions and having a tighter control of the execution flow here. So this is it for the migration. There are not a lot of moving parts, and as I said, this is already covered by the old SDK. The old SDK already contains examples of both how it was looking before and how it's looking now up to date. And not only with this coin dispenser example, we have plenty of others that were migrated to this newer format. So this will be it for the migration part. I will now return to the project itself. I will disable this, the deprecated one. And I will now show the POS side of things, just to see how this extension, this hardware station extension will be consumed by. So in POS, I created a very simple view. This view has 3 buttons. Those 3 buttons are a ping, which we'll call our ping controller, a dispense 10 coins button, which we'll call our dispense change controller, and a dispense 1,000 coins button, which we'll call our dispense change controller, but this time with 1,000 coins instead of 10. And this is all there is to it. We can now build the installer solution and then create our package. And I'm building here. And let me go back to the fast sample repo meanwhile. And before even installing the package, I want to show you the contents of it, just to make sure, like as Mugunthan already said, this is the major change from the old SDK. This is really an add-on that you can really just install on top of the existing vanilla application of Modern POS. And everything, this additional package will contain all of your extensions inside it, and it will be in a plug and play fashion installed and uninstalled without having to uninstall the base application or any of other extension packages you may have for that regard. I'm renaming the package generated here by the SDK just so we can see its contents, and then I can show you. So if you see here, I just renamed it to zip, and then I can check its contents. But you can see that I do not have anything related to hardware station here. And the reason for that, even though I do have things related to commerce runtime and POS, I don't have anything related to hardware station. And the reason for that is because since this is a modern POS extension, you need to include a reference to these projects inside your modern POS.js project, else they won't be picked up. They are in this case in the same solution, but they won't be picked up unless they're included in this project. So I'll go forward and include them. And you can see that I also included here this hardware station payment device project. I'm only including this for the sake of brevity because this will be our second demo, so I'm including it as of now just to speed things up. So there we go. We just saved it, and now let's reload this project, and now we will rebuild the installer project. Then we'll probably see all of those files being deleted and then generated again. There we go. So now we can inspect again the contents. And you can see that for sure now everything is correctly linked, and we now have our hardware station folder. And just like that, we have both our DLLs for those 2 projects that we added in the modern POS.js project solution. that were generated by this project and this project. And they are included here, and in our extensions config, they are also added automatically to it. And modern POS will read this extensions config and load those two DLLs automatically. There is no need for dragging and dropping DLLs and manually changing this composition anymore. This configuration, everything is done automatically by the SDK just by adding that one reference to your installer extension. So this is it, and our installer was generated here. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to show you before installing this installer, which is a modern POS installer. I will show you how the process works from the shared hardware station point of view. So just minimize this for now. And I'll open another solution this time for the shared hardware station installer. So it is living here, same repository. As you can see, I added a reference to the same projects here. The hardware station coin dispenser sample. Let me remove this one, which is the deprecated. I added a reference to the coin dispenser sample here, to the payment device, which will be the subject of our next demo. And we have the hardware station installer. In a similar fashion to the modern POS solution, we also need to include the reference here to those projects so that they can be picked up by the extension installer. So do not forget to do that. And another thing of worthwhile showing is that, as I said, like in the very beginning, this installer project is consuming this Microsoft Dynamics SDK installers package. Whereas the projects themselves, they are consuming a similar named package, but with all of the contents necessary for the extensions. And if we run, oops, I think I pressed clean, yeah. So if we run this guy, then you will see if I go back here, hardware station installer, my executable, which will be a sealed installation of the hardware station extensions for specifically the shared hardware station, will be generated. And I can install this in my machine and make it work. But as I said before, I want to show this just for the sake of time. I will really focus myself on the dedicated hardware station for now. So I'll just go forward and install that original installation executable that we did before for the modern POS. So I call it through the command line as call the executable followed by the install keyword. And then that's it. It's installed. And now I go here and I can click on installer update retail modern POS to pick up the changes that were made to the original application. Before doing that, I will set up my peripheral simulator here because I have set up my modern POS application to work with my peripheral simulator. So I'll just keep it open here so it works correctly. And now I'm just gonna click the shortcut that will apply my extensions into my Commerce Modern POS application. And we are here. Oh, okay. Maybe this is a lock message from the peripherals. It gave an exception. Okay. me double check something. This is all good. Okay, let me close this and open the peripheral and the application again. Okay, seems like it's happy now. Perfect. So sorry for that. Let's show the first demo now. So let me show you how to debug the application as well. So we don't need this anymore. Coming back here, if you want to debug your hardware station extensions, you need to go into the debug tab. You're going to attach process, and you're going to select the desktop bridge process, which is right over here. So you attach to it, and now you can start debugging your hardware station extension, your dedicated hardware station extensions. Very important. So it's thinking for a while. And this is to debug the hardware station extensions. To debug the POS extensions instead, you also need to attach the debugger, but in this case, to a different target. And I'll show you right now. So let's go to debug, and then you go to other debug targets. I'm sure you've seen this before when we were presenting the POS extensions. Debug install that package. You search for POS. There we go. And script only, and you attach. And now you can see that all of the JavaScript will be loaded. And I already put some breakpoints in here. So the example view model has some breakpoints, as do the hardware station code here. So let's go forward with that. We'll go to our custom view. First, I'll ping the coin dispenser to make sure that it's responding. So I'll ping. It hit the POS code to execute a hardware station request for this device name custom ping that I showed earlier for this action custom ping. And the message is knock knock. So we are going to execute that, and sure enough, we hit the custom device custom ping and the action custom ping, and we are inside here. And we are going to send a message back called your message is successfully received with the contents of the original message, which is knock knock. So proceed that, and we can see that the request succeeded, and our response in the client is successfully formulated with the original message and the message coming from the ping request. So communication between hardware station and POS is now working. So we can now go to our second button, which is to dispense 10 coins. So in this button, we are also creating a specific action to this device. But in this case, the device name is coin dispenser and the action is dispense change. We can go forward and we see that it matched correctly the coin dispenser and dispense change action. And now we will see that we are going to call those three requests in succession. I'll just proceed. And it entered the execute, and here it will branch according to each request. So we're going to open. This is just setting a boolean that the device is now open. And now is the second request, which is dispense coins. And in this case, we are checking that the amount of coins that we want to dispense is, if it is greater than whatever coin amounts we have in this device, then we just throw an exception. Since we have 1,000, this is lesser, so it will just update the value and proceed with the execution. And the final request is just a close, which will set the boolean to false. After all that, you can see that the hardware station device request succeeded in the client, and we can just continue. And now on the third button, which is the same one, but in this case, the payload here is to dispense 1,000 coins. So you can see that I'm sending 1,000 as an amount now. And if we go back, it's the exact same flow, open. But now there's a difference because our amount now is 1,000 and our coin amount is 990. So we will go inside the exception portion. We'll throw an exception, not enough coins. We will still close the device to keep it in a consistent state. But as you can see, sure enough, we get a hardware station error here saying that there are not enough coins in the client. And we can handle this after the dialog is dismissed to do anything else. In this case, we're just logging in information that there was a failure. That's the first demo. You can see that if I try executing the 10 coins again, because the amount is lesser, it won't throw an exception. So everything is working out fine. It succeeded. And I think this is enough for the first demo. Let's go now with our second demo. The second demo is about overriding an existing request, hardware station request. And you can see that I purposefully omitted talking about this specific class before. And this is because this is an additional handler that will handle requests that are already sent by default to the hardware station related to the printer. And those are the open, print, and close printer. As you can see, those exist directly in the SDK, so you can reference them from your custom handlers as you see fit. And what this is doing is it will override the default behavior of those, and it will throw a no op instead. So you can see that open and close, I have it in a similar fashion as I did with the coin dispenser, just setting a boolean. And print here is really a no op, it's not doing anything. So let's go forward. I set up this machine to do to print whenever an order is completed. So let's add an item to the cart and finish that order. So we can see those print requests being called. So the order was completed, and now we have the option to print it or not. There we go. So I'll just enable this breakpoint and click on print all lines. And you can see that we hit this. And the first request is sure enough the open printer. And it already has a specific payload that you can override as you see fit according to your business model. This will call this open method. And now, sure enough, we have the print request. And the print request already comes with a default footer header and the lines. But as I said, you can just override that to fit your individual needs. And finally, the close printer request, which is the final one. And that's it. POS got the request back, which were a no op, and then it saw that it succeeded. They succeeded, and it's happy. That's it for the second demo. As I showed before, since those requests leave already, they are provided by default. There's really no need to create a specific controller for those. The only thing you need is a handler that will handle those. Unlike the coin dispenser where custom requests were created, and then you needed to provide a specific action in POS code in order to call them. in this case here, all these are called by default. There's no need to have a specific extension code in order to call those. You are really overriding a default behavior of an existing request. And the final demo that is included in the repo already is the payment device. And the payment device sample project only includes a single file, which is this one. And it's mainly a no-op for all of the payment terminal device requests that can be sent by POS, lock, release, open, and so on. Most of them are no-op. A few of them are actually sending a dummy payload so that POS thinks that a card transaction, for example, succeeded. And this is exactly what we are going to do in order to showcase that. So let me add an item to the cart. And now I'll go over to pay by card. And in a similar way to the print request, you can see that those are already provided by the SDK, all of those. So there is already a default implementation for them. This is only showing how you can override those to fit your needs. In this case, for a payment device. And let's enable this breakpoint here, and then let's pay this transaction using the card. So you can see that we hit this execution because this handler is handling all of those requests. And the first request that we get is get transaction reference payment terminal device request. And this will go over here. Sure enough, and then we will end up calling the contents here, which by this case is just a no-op, but this is just shown as an example of that you can override this to do whatever you want. And there we go. And now it calls a second request, which is the authorized payment terminal. And this one will be a dummy payload that will generate a succeeded payment. There we go. And the final one, which is the update line items. And I think this is it for the demos. I hope this was insightful for you. And now I will hand over back to Magunkan so he can continue the presentation. And then we can go to the Q&A. Thank you.
Thanks, Lucas. I'm sharing my screen. Yeah, I think we are almost on time. Just before going to the Q&A, one important topic is the localization features. Okay. So in the previous SDK, the localization features are shipped as samples, like in the retail SDK, and you would have built and generated the installer. So even in the new SDK, it's going to be the same pattern. The only difference is samples will be available in GitHub as extension samples. So where you can download the samples or like clone the repo and get the samples and then generate the installer, and then you can deploy and service. Whenever there is a next update or the changes you want to do, you will get the updated version of the sample from GitHub, and then you can continue to use it. Okay, it will be again served as exactly same as extension. There will be independent installer that you can use, and then generate an extension installer for the sample you cloned from the GitHub repo for your localization features, and then you can continue to use it. It's the same pattern as the extension. Yeah. So I think there's like few best practice we have included based on our previous sessions. Like one, if there is a packages, if you want to merge with ISV, generally in case of hardware station extension, it's not required. We support multiple extension packages. Only the CSV components need to be merged, but for hardware station, it's not required to merge your extension. So if there is ISV extension for hardware station and your extension, you can have like n number of multiple extension installer and independent and install and service that separately. So you don't have to do the merging. Similarly, like if you want to report some issues, have some question on the sample, you can post your questions on the, or like you post your issues on the GitHub issues on against the samples. So you will, if you go to the GitHub and the in-store repo, you can post your questions. Yeah. Okay. And also, like if you need some time for the migration, I think in the previous tech talk we covered like how you can do a code sharing between the old SDK and the Commerce SDK. Like you will migrate to the Commerce SDK, but the extension you are done, like well, kind of you can share between. There may be some components which you will not be able to share because of the interface change or something, but most of the other components you can temporarily do a code sharing between the retail and the retail SDK and the new Commerce SDK. Yeah. So key takeaways for the session. One, yeah, understand the extension patterns. If you can fit your extension within those patterns, if there is some cases where you are not able to fit it, please reach out to us. And then one important change, as Lucas showcased, is the new eye controller. Even this was supported in old SDK also, so it's not like a big change. And other thing is like if you already like written the sample in the old SDK with eye controller, your migration should be much more easier. Okay, and then the third one we want to remember is a separate installer for the shared hardware station, and then dedicated. You don't have to combine and generate one big installer. And then the next one is the migration topic, where again this migration is like you should be able to reuse as much as your business logic. You don't have to write it, only just the packaging type, the project type, and then the interface are changed, but 95% of your business logic whatever wrote, you should be able to reuse it. So this migration should not be like a big effort. Yeah, so you should be able to reuse it as much as possible. And again, the last point is the localization features, so it will be continued available in GitHub as samples. It's slowly getting migrated from the retail SDK and move to the new GitHub samples by following the new Commerce SDK pattern. Yeah. The upcoming tech talk is on the CRT and retail server migration. This is the 6th tech talk in our series. So we did like this is the 5th session we are doing. So we did like before this one we did 4 other tech talks covering like from the overview of the new Commerce SDK, fast migration, as well as the packaging and deployment. So we covered multiple topics. So if you have any question on the migration, please watch those videos. If you're not able to still find the answer, you can reach out to us. You can file a support ticket and we are happy to help with that. Yeah. So with that, we'll move to a Q&A. Yeah. Please post your question on the chat window and we'll be happy to answer it. Yeah.
Thanks, Maganthan. So the first question we have is, I haven't done any hardware customization earlier. What is a good way to get started?
Okay, yeah. In that case, you can just refer our sample in the GitHub or like the hardware station documentation, and then you can start your customization. Take the new commerce packages. I think Lucas showed the list of available hardware station packages, right? So based on your scenario, say for example, if you want to integrate with new device, you can consume the relevant packages from the public feed and start your customization. I think both the documentation and samples are available in GitHub and then the doc side. So that should be your starting point. So I don't think then you have to worry about any of the migration. You can just start with your customization with the new Commerce SDK. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Maganthan. The next question is asking if the payment connector emulator is available for POS.
So we have this virtual peripheral simulator. It's mainly for the payment device. I think if I understood, if you mean connector, like where you want to use without a payment device, correct? If that's the case, I don't think we have a emulator for the connector. The virtual peripheral supports only the payment device. Yeah, so we don't have an emulator for the connector. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Maganthan. It looks like that's all the questions we have, and with that, I think we can throw it back to Brad and end right on time.
Yep, back to you, Brad.
All right, thank you very much. To all of our attendees out there, I have posted a link to a short survey in the Q&A panel. We'd love to hear your feedback on today's session and to hear also what you'd like to see in future events. So thank you for your participation on that. As a reminder, the recording of today's session will be available on the Tech Talks Community Dynamics page within 5 business days. And finally, I'd like to extend a big thank you to our presenters and audience for joining us today.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.